it work. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All
Good
right.
evening.
Glad to have you all
Good
with
evening.
us today. And
Good evening.
this is our annual certification update meeting where we talk about the current licensure guidelines and provisions as it relates to teacher certification within the district. And so for those who may or don't know me, my name is Dr. Tommy Nalls Jr., and I serve as the Director of Recruitment for Jackson Public School District. And so before we get started, just a couple of kind of virtual meeting guidelines, if you will, because we do have quite a bit of information to cover and we want to do it within a short period of time. We're asking that everyone, as they join the meeting, to make sure that you mute your lines to eliminate any background noise. And so that just it makes the meeting go smoother, prevents any distractions or undesired interruptions, maybe from the background noise of people in your homes, because I know people are tuning in from everywhere in every way. But we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to hear the information being presented, as well as we keep the call moving smoothly without any interruptions. The other thing too is that the call this evening is being recorded. The plan is to edit and the video after we complete the meeting and make it accessible for people who may not have been able to attend, or for people who want to rewatch the video at a later time to rehear the information. So we'll edit the video and then post it on the JPS website as well as the JPS YouTube channel. And then the other thing is we want you to use the chat. The chat will be open and available for any questions that you may have as we go through. We'll try to answer some of those questions through the Q&A session at the end of the call. It's a lot of people on the call, so I doubt in this particular session we'll be able to open the floor up. But if you put your questions in, we'll try to answer quite a few of them. And the plan also is to save the chat and go through and identify all of the questions and then provide answers to them in an FAQ format that we can upload and make available to you through the district website as well. Before we move forward, you see these two items on the right side of the screen. I guess you're wondering, what are those? Okay, well, these are called flow codes, which are similar to QR codes that contain important information. So to kind of practice that, I want you to take out your phone. All you need is a camera. Open up the camera app on your phone and simply hold up your camera to the flow codes. A link should pop up on your phone that will take you to those particular links. The top one, which is in white, is the link to the PowerPoint that you're going to view today in both color and in grayscale, along with some additional sheets. So if you wanted to go ahead and download that information and then save it for later viewing, then I encourage you to do that as well. The bottom one is the link to the JPS employment page, which is where the links to all of this information that we're providing tonight will be made available to you. Of course, to access the documents, you will need to log in using your JPS email. So because this information is relative to Jackson Public School employees, particularly those who are working on their teacher certification. Okay.
Am I the only one not seeing these codes? I don't see the codes.
Well, they're in the picture, so you need to hold your phone up, your camera on your phone up to the circles in order to get it, and then a little link should pop up at the top of the screen. All right, and then again, make sure that you mute yourselves. And then if there's any issues with the codes, I'll be sure to update or provide you a document that contains all of the links so that you can access them a different way if you can't access them through the QR codes. But you'll see these flow codes throughout the presentation, and I'll reference them to let you know what's contained in the flow codes. But each one of them is a link to a web page or a document that's relative to the information that we'll be providing within the presentation. Okay. Before we get started, I would like to open the floor up to our Chief of Staff, Dr. Michael Cormack to provide some opening remarks before we get into the purpose and the main information of the meeting. Dr. Cormack?
Right. Well, great evening to everybody who's joining us. Really excited to have you all and to have this great interest tonight in teacher certification opportunities in the district. You are in great and capable hands with Dr. Nalls, who will guide you through all of the requirements. And we just realize that this is a great opportunity to make certain that our scholars have great certified educators before them. And we're doing a lot this year to ensure that there's effective mentorship for teachers and supported through professional development. We know that you all are working incredibly hard and really appreciate your efforts this very unusual year with virtual learning. I want to especially send words of appreciation from our superintendent, Dr. Green, for all of the work that folks have done to open up their classrooms. And it kind of makes us a little bit more vulnerable when you've got parents peering in or side by side with the scholars as they're learning, or, you know, district administrators popping in. Maybe a few of you have seen me as I've been out and doing school visits, but we desperately appreciate the work that you're doing. And especially in this particular COVID time, this very unusual and challenging time. And Dr. Nalls has laid out a great presentation. We've settled on some great university partners. So we're excited to have Dr. Ben Burnett of William Carey with us. We are putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to making certain that there are pathways to get you certified. And so much of our title funding will be directed in this area to make certain that folks can move from one-year licenses into 3- and 5-year standard licenses, and that we're put on pathways to just be excellent in all ways. And so you're in Dr. Nalls' capable hands this evening, but just wanted to say good evening and thank you for the work that you do. And if our office can do anything to support you in your work, please do reach out.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Cormack. All right, so we're going to jump right in. The purpose of the meeting is to inform candidates about the certification process and all the pathways that are available to you for certification. We also want to provide clarity regarding any current certification requirements and provisions that have been provided by the Mississippi Department of Education to allow you to obtain your certification at this point. We also want to provide information on district level resources, current and upcoming, that are available to candidates to assist with certification. So we have a very brief agenda. We'll quickly go through the Mississippi certification pathways just as a recap to make sure that everybody has an understanding of what the requirements are as they're written as it relates to certification, whether you are a traditional candidate or a non-traditional certification candidate, also known as an alternate route candidate. And to educate you on the difference, education has always been power to me, and to make sure that that there's clarity when it relates to what your pathway is, always kind of helps inform what you should be doing and what your next steps are as it relates to obtaining your teaching license. After we review that, we'll go through the current licensure provisions that have been provided by the Mississippi Department of Education, and then we'll talk about JPS's Grow Your Own initiatives leading up to our JPS Teacher Certification Initiative, which we are doing in partnership with William Carey University. Then we'll have a quick Q&A where we pull some of the key questions from the chat. Again, the Q&A, because there's so many people in this virtual format, we won't be able to open up the floor. But if you have questions as we go through the presentation, make sure you submit your questions into the chat, and we'll pull those questions, answer a few of them here tonight. But then we'll also go back and try to answer all of the questions based on what you put in the chat and make that FAQ available for review at a later date through the Jackson Public Schools website. Okay, and we've already had remarks. I initially had you at the end, Dr. Cormack, but we moved you to the beginning. So, all right. So let's get into the certification pathways. So the easiest way to understand how certification works in the state of Mississippi is to think of it in terms of 3 T's, right? There are 3 T's that are required for Mississippi certification. The first one is testing. So educators need to complete all testing requirements that are required for certification. The next one is completion of an approved teacher preparation program, which we'll refer to as a TPP throughout the presentation. But the teacher preparation program, the most traditional form will probably be an alternate route program that you enroll in at a 4-year college or university. And we'll talk about those different types as we move forward. But then while you're in the teacher preparation program, the last phase of certification is the teaching experience, which is often referred to as student teaching or the teacher internship. So as we go through and we talk about the certification pathways and the requirements, I'll be sure to highlight the 3 T's involved in each one. Okay, so remember the 3 T's is what's required for certification: testing requirements, teacher preparation program, and the teaching experience. So first up is the traditional route pathway. This is if an individual has obtained a bachelor's degree or higher in education, right? Typically elementary education or education-related field from a nationally accredited or state-approved institution of higher education, that person is considered a traditional route teacher. The candidate must have documentation of student teaching in their program, and upon review of the candidate's information, the student teaching will be found on that person's transcript. So when we review your transcripts here in the office, or when MDE reviews your transcript, you'll know that the program you completed is an education program that leads to licensure if the student teaching is available on your transcript, okay? And traditionally, the candidate will also have completed their required certification examinations depending on what their area of concentration is. So once all these 3 areas have been completed, then a 5-year standard certification, which is a renewable license, is issued after all of those requirements are met. So as it relates to the 3 T's for a traditional route teacher, educators must take and pass the Praxis Core, which is a 21, or they can have a 21 on the ACT. They will also need to take and pass the Principles of Learning and Teaching exam, and then their Praxis subject area assessment in the area of certification. If the individual is pursuing certification in elementary education, then they will also need to take the Foundations of Reading assessment, which is an assessment that focuses on literacy that's required specifically for certification in Mississippi, all right? So that's the testing requirement. As it relates to teacher preparation, that will be the degree program that's completed with a minimum of it being the bachelor's degree program or higher from an approved teacher preparation program, and that program has to be approved by the Mississippi State Board of Education. And then, of course, the last T is the teaching experience. Typically in a traditional program, that teaching experience is student teaching, which is conducted normally through the final year or the final semester of your matriculation through your education program. So if you're not traditional, then the other pathway that's provided for individuals for certification is the non-traditional, or also known as the alternate route. Many of you who are probably on this call will be considered an alternate route teacher based on the fact that you obtain your bachelor's degree in any area other than education from an accredited institution of higher learning. So I myself, I'm a former alternate route teacher. I obtained my bachelor's degree in biology with a focus on pre-medicine. And then I actually attended an alternate route teacher preparation program a couple of years after I graduated from undergrad to obtain my teacher certification. So candidates on the non-traditional pathway have to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree. It could be in any area, but they also have to complete a teacher preparation training in the Mississippi State Board of Education approved alternate route program. Here in Mississippi, we have basically 2 paths, which is the degree option, and that teacher preparation basically consists of 6 hours of pre-teaching coursework. in a Master's of Arts in Teaching program or MAT program. So those two courses are typically identified as your classroom management course and then your measurements and evaluations course or your tests and measurements course. So those 6 hours basically make up the teacher preparation or the pre-teacher coursework training that's required to earn a teacher certification in the state of Mississippi. The other option is the certification only option, and the main program that we have other than the MAT program in Mississippi will be the Teach for Mississippi Institute. Okay, if individuals decide to obtain teacher certification through an alternate route program outside of the state of Mississippi, then there's a way to have the Mississippi Department of Education verify that the program that you completed actually meets the requirements for the state of Mississippi for you to receive your teacher certification in the state. Okay. Once you've completed the teacher preparation piece, alternate route program completers must also complete a 1-year teacher internship, which basically replaces the student teaching requirement to qualify for certification. So the only difference is student teaching in the traditional route is sort of like a residency program where you actually get to train as a student teacher under the tutelage of a mentor teacher. The teacher internship basically functions like on-the-job training. So you receive an actual teacher internship license, which lasts for 3 years, and then you're assigned a mentor through the university or the program that you're attending to receive your teacher certification, and you go from there. The Teach for Mississippi Institute is actually a program that is sponsored through the University of Mississippi. There's also a version at Mississippi State and Mississippi State and Southern Mississippi, but the program that's done at Ole Miss is available to teachers online. And so there is a tuition cost that's available that you have to pay in order to complete the program, but the coursework that you complete in the Teach for Mississippi Institute does not count towards a degree. It's only used to meet the requirements that's needed in order for you to earn a teaching certificate in Mississippi. Okay. All right. So for alternate route, we have the same 3 T's, whether they fit into the process. So typically with testing, educators must pass the practice core exam, or they can have a 21 or higher on the ACT. They also need to complete the practice subject area assessment, which is the content area assessment. And then again, if the person is an elementary teacher, alternate route only has elementary ed for grades 4 through 6 only. They still would need to complete the foundations of reading assessment in order to qualify for that elementary certification. So that takes care of the testing piece. The teacher preparation will be, you would need at least a bachelor's degree or higher from an accredited program in any area, plus the 6 hours or the equivalent of pre-teaching coursework in an approved alternate route teacher preparation program that leads to licensure. It is extremely important that when you are picking out your alternate route program, that the program leads to licensure. The best way to determine whether or not that program leads to licensure is the teacher experience component that's attached to the program. So in all alternate route programs that are approved by the state of Mississippi, not only will you complete the pre-teaching coursework, but you also have to have documentation of a completed 1-year teacher internship from the approved alternate route teacher preparation program as well. So many of you who I've counseled before, you probably, when we're sitting down and we're reviewing transcripts and things, or you tell me about the alternate route program that you've completed, or if you have a degree in elementary ed or early childhood education, one of the main things I'm going to ask you about is, did you complete an internship or student teaching during your program? Because that's the #1 indicator to help me determine whether or not you are considered an alternate route teacher or whether you are a traditional route teacher that can be eligible for certification sooner than later. All right. So typically for our alternate route people, once you complete the teacher preparation piece and the testing, and these are normal, this is not including the provisions that have been put in place by the state, which we're going to talk about shortly. But typically, in order for you to earn your 3-year alternate route certificate, which is your teacher internship license, you need to have the testing requirements completed and the pre-teaching coursework, which consists of, in an alternate route program, the classroom management course, as well as the measurements and assessment course. Okay. Once you complete that 3-year alternate route certification, you can use your 3-year license in order to obtain a teaching position. And then during that first year of teaching, you will complete your teacher internship. Once that student teaching is completed or that internship is completed, the educator is then eligible to apply for their 5-year standard teacher certification. Now, one of the alternate route programs that I did not mention earlier, because it's not, I only talked about the programs that are specific to the state of Mississippi, is Teach for America. Teach for America is a national program, but they do have a state statute in place for certification within Mississippi. So we do have Teach for America teachers that are employed in Jackson Public Schools. If anyone is interested about more information regarding TFA and how that certification program works, just you can put that information in the chat, or you can send me an email and I'll provide that information to you one-on-one. All right, so what are some of the resources available to individuals for provisional certification? The first one and the main one that we typically use would be the special non-renewable license. A few years ago, this used to be what we would call an emergency license or a 1-year license. The special non-renewable license is requested for prospective teachers in any endorsement area in which the applicant can qualify for an endorsement. That can be a core subject area like English, math, science, and social studies, or it can be an endorsement in performing arts, whether it's or foreign language. However, only one endorsement can be requested per special non-renewable license type. How do we determine eligibility for the license? Well, for traditional program completers, and these are people who have majored in education, that individual must hold a traditional education degree from a nationally accredited state-approved program, where either they have a bachelor's degree in the area or they have a bachelor's degree in any area with completion of an approved traditional route teacher preparation program that leads to licensure. So the number one factor that allows us to determine if the program leads to licensure is that student teaching was completed during the degree program. So if the person falls under the traditional program completer route, then that person has a full 3 years to meet all the requirements for full certification. Typically, this relates to our individuals who have graduated with degrees in either elementary education or from an approved early childhood education program. I have not come across many cases where it was anything other than those two. The individual may be missing like the foundations of reading assessment or their student teaching piece that they still need to complete. But once the degree is issued and conferred with the university and they just need to meet one of those testing requirements or the internship requirement, then we can request what's called a special non-renewable traditional program completers license for those individuals. And then they have 3 full years to obtain their full licensure as long as they're able to show progress toward completion of the requirements. The requirements are slightly different for non-traditional program completers or alternate route teachers. And the majority of our provision licensed personnel within Jackson Public Schools will fall under this category. So this license is also available for 3 years, but you have to recertify or requalify for the certification after each year. So the requirements are slightly different. For year 1, the only thing that's required for an individual to qualify for a special non-renewable license is they need to have an official transcript showing completion of an accredited degree program at the bachelor's level or higher, and then they need to be able to qualify for their endorsement area in one of the following ways. They need to have a degree in the area of requested certification. So if you wanted to teach biology, and you had a degree in biology, you could qualify for the endorsement that way. You could have a bachelor's degree plus 18 hours of eligible coursework in the area of requested certification, as long as each class has a grade of C or better in each course. So you may have a degree in engineering where there's not per se a engineering endorsement available for teachers, but if you have 18 hours or more mathematics coursework with a C or better in each math course, then we can use that to request a mathematics endorsement for you. And likewise in many different areas. If the candidate doesn't meet one of the first two, either by having a degree or 18 hours of coursework, then the last way they can qualify for an endorsement is by taking and passing the practice subject area assessment in the area of certification requested. All right. So once the license is issued, during the year one, the educator needs to be either working toward obtaining their 3-year internship license or meeting the requirements to qualify for year two, excuse me. So I've broken up the requirements, which have changed since last year to this year with the approval of the update of the Mississippi Licensure Guidelines from this summer. So as it relates to the requirements, there are certain sections that I consider options, and then there are other parts of it that are considered requirements. So here we'll talk about the year two options first, which are there's basically 3 options that you can have. The individual will need to provide official test score reports documenting either achievement or attempts to achieve the qualifying passing score on required applicable testing requirements during the time that the Year 1 Special Non-Renewable License was valid. So for those of you who've been on this journey, you know that it used to read that you had to meet all of the requirements. So you had to pass your test in order to qualify for year 2. Now it is provided that you only need to be able to document attempts to achieve the passing score. You can go that route, or you can obtain an official letter of unconditional acceptance to a state-approved alternate route teacher preparation program. And that letter must be completed by either the Dean of Education or the certification officer at that university. You can do either one of those two in order to meet the optional requirement for year 2 special non-renewable license. The last option is you can provide a sealed transcript showing required course status as in progress. So if you are already in the alternate route program, by simply providing a copy of your transcript showing that you've either completed a course or the course is in progress, that will meet the optional requirement for year 2 licensure certification. Now, in addition to one of those 3 optional requirements, then you have these 2 non-optional requirements, which will be provided by the district, which is the first is evidence of having received high quality professional development that is sustained, intensive, and classroom focused. As you know, in the district, we log all of our professional development through our frontline professional development system. And so as you complete the the professional development through the days that we have set up and the schedule that we have through JPS, make sure that you're signing up and you're registering and completing the surveys for those to receive credit, because what we'll be able to do is provide a transcript of all the professional development that you've completed throughout your time, throughout the year in Jackson Public Schools, to attach that to your documentation when we get ready to request your year 2. Along with that, we also have to have evidence of participated intensive supervision that consists of structured guidance and regular ongoing support or teacher mentoring with a certified teacher during the preceding school year. So we've worked with Ms. Janet Wallace, who was our new teacher induction coordinator for the district, to redo or reorganize our mentorship program to make sure that all of our provision and licensed teachers, as well as our new teachers, are assigned a mentor for this school year. And so as the details come out with that, if some of you may already know who your mentors are, And many of you have already started to attend like the new teacher induction meetings and things of that nature. As more information comes out about that, we'll be in communication on how to document your time and what forms will be needed when it's time to apply for your year 2 certification, if this route is needed. Similar to the year 2 requirements, the year 3 requirements contain the same options and non-optional requirements to apply for year 3. Our hope is that during the year 1 and at the most year 2, the district will be able to provide supports for you to move from the special non-renewable license action onto your 3-year teacher internship license, which will allow you to be able to complete the internship and then complete your standard certification. But the requirements are the same. So either test scores reporting achievement or attempts, or you can have a letter of unconditional acceptance to an alternate route teacher preparation program, or you can provide sealed transcript showing required coursework status that's in progress or completed with an earned grade of C or higher. But just like the year 2 and year 3, to apply for year 3, you will need to have evidence of both professional development as well as teacher support or ongoing teacher mentoring during your year 2 special non-renewable license matriculation. Right now, all of the information I presented to you up to this point is what's written in the guidelines as they are as they're written. But due to COVID-19, back in March of 2020, the Mississippi Department of Education's the Board of Education actually held a special call meeting where they provided some licensure provisions for individuals due to COVID-19 that we're going to inform you about at this time if you don't already know. Okay, so during that special call meeting on March 26th, the Mississippi State Board of Education granted approval to the Mississippi Department of Education to suspend the educator preparation entry testing criterion only for all candidates seeking admission to a State Board of Education approved traditional or non-traditional educator preparation program on or before December 31st, 2021. So essentially what that means is, in order for you to get enrolled into an alternate route program within the state of Mississippi, the testing requirement, which was required has been suspended through December of next year. So let me say that again. The testing requirement that is required for you to enter into teacher education or teacher preparation program in the state of Mississippi has been suspended through December of next year. So in other words, in order for you to obtain or get into an alternate route program, you don't need to have any test pass. That includes the praxis core or the praxis subject area assessment. However, individuals seeking admission to a alternate route or non-traditional educator preparation program only shall be required to meet one of the following measures of subject matter competency. So this is dealing with the endorsement that you are trying to obtain for your license at the time of admittance. So you either have to qualify for your endorsement by degree, by the 18 hours of acceptable coursework function, and it's important to note that the 18 hours used to be 21. So back in February of last year, they reduced that requirement from 21 hours with a C or better in each course down to 18 hours. Or with qualifying passing scores on the praxis subject area assessment in the area of endorsement that's being requested. Okay, so the educator preparation program testing requirement is the only requirement for admission that has been suspended. So this includes the 21 on the ACT equivalent and the praxis core examination. So those are not required through December of 2021 to gain entry into an alternate route program. However, the other requirements, such as grade point average and any other criteria that's in place at the university or with the program for admission, still remain in effect. We actually, as Dr. Cormack mentioned earlier, we have Dr. Ben Burnett, who's on the call, who's going to talk about the partnership that we have set up for teacher certification with Jackson Public Schools. And in his discussion, he's going to talk about the requirements for entry into the alternate route program at William Carey. right? Important to note that according to the current guidelines, candidates for program entry who have met all admission requirements on or before December 31st, 2021 will not be required to meet the testing criterion only, okay? In other words, once you get into the program, at no time as long as you get in before December 31st, 2021, MDE is not going to go back and make you retake your test. Okay, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to kind of get on my soapbox a little bit and tell you that this is a prime opportunity, especially for individuals who have had difficulty passing the Praxis core or their subject area assessments, to be able to go ahead and apply and enroll into an alternate route program so that you can obtain your teacher certification. All right. And then applicants will be required to meet the licensure requirements in effect on the date the complete application is received in the MDE division of educator licensure. All right. So essentially what that means is currently these are the provisions that are in effect. Once January 1st, 2022 comes, there's going to be a different set of licensure requirements are in effect. So if you don't obtain at minimum your 3-year internship license before December 31st of 2021, when January 1, 2022 comes, whatever licensure requirements are in effect at that time, you'll be subject to. So if they decide to reinstate the testing requirements in January of 2022, then you'll have to go back and meet those requirements at that point. So the biggest thing is that we have the remainder of this year and next year for you to get enrolled into an alternate route program, complete the coursework requirements, at minimum the coursework requirements, and receive your 3-year alternate route license to avoid you having to take any certifications with the state. Okay. All right. What are the provisions for provisionally licensed teachers? During the same meeting in March, MDE also granted approval to suspend renewal requirements for those who hold licenses that are set to expire on June 30th, 2020, and grant a 1-year extension. Many of you, we went through this process over the summer, and some after school started, that if you had a license, or whether it was a special non-renewable or any type of license that expired or was set to expire June 30th, we were able to request an extension of their license that's going to be dated to expire June 30th, 2021. As you if you go back and you look at your license, you'll see that the validity date of that license is from whenever it was issued in 2019 all the way through June 30th, 2021. And it's still considered a year 1 special non-renewable license. So you're still within that year 1 window as it relates to recertification. Right? Please note that the extension of local district requested license types, whether it's a special non-renewable, a 1-year emergency certificate for veteran teachers, or an expert citizen license, or etc., had to be requested by the local school district. So if anybody has any questions, or you need more information about how to apply for your COVID-19 extension, or whether or not you qualify, you can contact the Office of Recruitment, and I'll provide the contact information later, but the number's there on the screen. Or you can also visit mdek12.org/COVID-19. They have a list of frequently asked questions, some very general, some very specific, but they provide answers to all of the questions on their page as it relates to these COVID-19 provisions. And if you have your phone, you can scan the flow code there and bookmark the link. It'll take you right to that MDE COVID-19 support page for educator licensure. All right. Just as a point of note, the same option that was available for provisional licensed teachers was made available to veteran teachers as well. So any educator that was holding a license that was going to expire on June 30th, they can request a 1-year extension. I don't know if we have any veteran teachers on the call, but the flow code here is the link to the video that we created this summer that walked the teachers step by step through the application process on how to apply for your license. I was actually able to provide this information to someone as late as today who did not know that they qualified for an extension, and we were able to get their application uploaded and get them a license for this school year. So even if you can't use this, if you have any colleagues that need to have their license extended because they weren't able to renew their license, then you can share this information with them as well. All right. So as a district, we have 3 goals for our JPS educators that are on a district requested license. The first goal that we have is to get all of you entered into an approved alternate route teacher preparation program, and highlighting again that the testing requirements are suspended. So many of you that I've talked to over the year, over the summer, many of you have already enrolled, are taking classes. Some of you have completed the coursework and have already applied for your 3-year internship license. I'm going to say it again, that any candidates who have not met all admission requirements on or before December 31st as outlined before or above, they will not be required to meet the testing requirement, the testing criterion only. So once you get admitted into the program, then you are exempt from having to take your test. Candidates for licensure who have met all requirements on or before December 31st will not be required to retroactively meet the testing requirements. So basically what they're saying is, after December 31st, as long as you're in the program, MDE is not going to make you go back and take those tests to obtain certification. So once you're in the program and once you've obtained your 3-year license, you don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to go back and make you retake those tests. The only licensure requirement that this does not apply for is elementary education, alternate route elementary education candidates. Due to the fact that a majority, if not all, of our elementary education alternate route candidates, they do not have degrees in elementary education. So the only way that you can obtain certification is through taking the elementary education content knowledge exam, which also requires the foundations of reading assessment. So if there are individuals who are interested in obtaining an elementary ed 4 through 6 endorsement, when I provide the information as it relates to signing up for your one-on-one advisement, we'll be able to go into detail about what's required during that time, okay? Goal number 2 is to obtain your internship license prior to December 31st, 2021, all right? In many cases, in order to do that, you would probably have to be enrolled in an alternate route program now, okay? So what we're asking is that all of our teachers who, and I think this on the next slide, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it now, all of our JPS educators who are on provisional license, we're requiring to make sure that you are eligible for a license and a contract for next year, to make sure that you provide us your letter of unconditional acceptance prior to December the 18th, 2020, okay? With that information, we can kind of get a gauge on who's going to be eligible for a license. We can go ahead and start working on the process of getting you all, getting your paperwork together to make sure that you at the very least qualify for a year 2 special non-renewable, so that when we issue contracts in the spring, you'll be eligible to receive a contract at that time, okay? So to highlight again, making sure that your complete licensure application is submitted prior to December 31st, 2021. Typically what that means is you would need to have a completed, signed licensure application along with all transcripts and supporting required documents depending on what license you're applying for. The packet has to be complete and received by MDE prior to December the 31st. If not, then you will be subject to whatever licensure requirements go into place on January 1st, 2022. So it's really no excuse, because it's September, almost October of 2020 now, which gives you the rest of this year and all of next year to be able to, at the very least, get enrolled into an alternate route program and complete the pre-teaching coursework to receive your license. And we're going to help you with that. Okay. So again, like I said earlier, goal 3 is to have every provisionally licensed teacher license or eligible for a contract by spring of 2021. So no valid license equals no contract. No contract equals a vacancy within the district. Once your position becomes a vacancy, we can fill it with somebody who's certified or eligible to receive a contract. We don't want that to happen. We want you to make sure that you've met all the requirements in order for you to obtain a valid license, so that when we issue contracts, we can provide you a contract and your jobs can be secure for next school year. Many of you went through that process this year, and we had to wait until the COVID-19 extension was provided before many people were able to receive certification. We don't want to be in that situation or that boat this time around. So we want to make sure that to do that, we need to make sure that everybody, again, if you are in an alternate route program, you can go ahead and start turning in your letters of unconditional acceptance from your universities. If not, then you need to get enrolled into a program so we can and get accepted and enrolled so we can have those letters on file, and then we can start documenting the other requirements needed to make sure you're eligible for a year 2 license. Okay, so to make sure that everybody is on track and knows exactly what to do, the Office of Recruitment will begin scheduling one-on-one appointments with all provisionally licensed teachers to advise you on next steps for certification. I will provide the link at the very end of the presentation so that those of you who are in attendance, you can go ahead and start signing up for your one-on-one appointments today. And it is a requirement. If you are currently on a special non-renewable license, you must sit down with me one-on-one so we can document that you know exactly what you need to do in order for you to obtain your certification for next year. Okay? All right. Real quick, just to kind of go through some of the things that we are doing. JPS, one of our tenets in the strategic plan is to develop or to take a grow your own approach at all levels of the organization in both instructional and operational functions. So of course, you know, as the director of recruitment for the district, my focus is always to, well, how do we grow teachers within the district? And so we have aligned ourselves with multiple programs, particularly to assist with recruitment of teachers in our hard to staff areas. One of those programs is the Mississippi Teacher Residency Pilot Program. This is aimed at long-term subs or limited service teachers or teacher assistants who have 60 or more qualifying hours towards a bachelor's degree. The educated will earn a bachelor's degree in elementary education with dual endorsements in elementary ed as well as special education. This year, we were actually afforded the opportunity to expand that not just to a bachelor's degree, but also a master's degree program. Those participants will receive professional development, mentoring, and instructional coaching throughout the program. And more information on how to apply for this program will be announced at the MTR program interest meeting that we hold in November. So when November comes around, you'll start to see announcements for those who are interested and would like to qualify for the Mississippi Teacher Residency. One of the other programs that we're doing in partnership with the Mississippi Department of Education is the Performance-Based Licensure Pilot Program. This program was aimed at the teacher who has proven to be effective in the classroom, but had difficulty passing exams. Now, mind you, currently, the exam requirement for program entry has been suspended. So I don't know how this program will be impacted by those requirements, but for those who do apply and get accepted, they have to have at least 3 years of lead teaching experience or 5 years of experience as a teacher assistant. And then again, more information on how to apply for this particular program will be provided during our November meeting alongside the MTR program interest meeting. A couple of our Grow Your Own initiatives that we have that we launched this past summer was we entered into a partnership with with Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi, for mathematics educators. As you know, mathematics educators are hard to come by. I often call them unicorns. And so as an incentive to try to promote math certification within the district, we partnered with the University of Mississippi, where educators who are interested in this program would earn a full math degree and can get standalone endorsements in either mathematics, algebra, or geometry. And then we also entered into a partnership with William Carey University as it relates to special education, where the district actually pays for the certification requirements for special education teachers. So I felt like that was a great segue to introduce Dr. Ben Burnett, who is on the call with us this afternoon. And he's going to share information as it relates to William Carey's alternate route program. We'll probably tag team any information that's related to what the teacher certification partnership will look like for this upcoming year. Dr. Burnett?
Hey, good evening, Dr. Nalls.
All right.
Very, very good to see you. Do you have my PowerPoint pulled up, or
I do. I have it here
Okay.
ready for you. So if you just let me know, I'll take your cues and I can click it for you.
All right, well, great. We can go ahead and move on to that next slide. And right now in the chat comments, if I can get the chat box here, I will leave my email address for everybody. But just a really quick background. Y'all have been sitting and listening for a long time, so we'll move real quickly. But some of you may not know a lot about William Carey University. We're a private Christian university in Hattiesburg, formed in 1892. So we're the oldest higher ed institution in South Mississippi. We are cheaper than most, if not all, the graduate programs, but that won't impact all of you in this program because Dr. Nalls, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the district is picking up the expense for these classes. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. So for the pre-teaching coursework as well as the internship, for those who get enrolled into this particular program, the district will be paying for them to receive their certification.
Well, that is absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to find that anywhere else, and that is 12 hours toward a 30-hour master's degree. And that 12 hours is going to save you about $5,000 to $6,000. So you need to jump on the chance if you can. That last bullet shows that we're on a different kind of a trimester system, or a different kind of a calendar. We operate on 10-week terms. So we're in our fall term right now, but we'll start our winter term the 1st of November. And Dr. Nalls and I talked today, and our goal for all of you would be to start by our spring term, which is around the 3rd week of February. So we have now, I believe your deadline is going to be sometime in December to get everything to the district. And then we'll check GPAs and do what we need to do to get you in programs. And then we'll actually offer the 2 courses. And we have 2 different options with virtual and face-to-face options for these 2 courses. You can go to the next slide, Dr. Nalls. The good thing about William Carey University, since we're a private institution, most of our faculty members have spent a career already in K-12 education. We average over 27 years of experience in K-12. So you'll be learning from people who've done it and who've retired from being in the K-12 system already. And we have a very large program. It says nearly 1,500 students, but since we did this PowerPoint presentation, we're actually over 1,700 students in the School of Education, and we graduate 500 people a year on average. Next slide. And we'll go ahead to the next one. All right, so our program, like other alternate route programs, is designed to lead to standard licensure and provides you for the experience in elementary education, which will be grades 4 through 6, secondary education, which is 7, 12, and Dr. Cormack's already cleared up that you can do down to 5th grade with that, or special education. We're only one of 2 universities in the state that are licensed, approved to offer special education tracks. Next slide. So these are all of the different areas in which you can become licensed in. And again, special education should stand out because we're one of the few that does that. Elementary education, as I said, 4 through 6. And another reason you need to jump on this program as quickly as you can is because Dr. Nalls has already gone over the licensure waiver. If you were going into elementary education 4 through 6, without this waiver, you would have to pass the Foundations of Reading exam, but until December of 2021, that you would be exempt from that. So that's one less test that you'd have to take. All right. As we said, the 2 courses can be taught virtually, but I believe we're going to do this face-to-face, and we're going to do this either within the school district or somewhere close, so you will not have to travel to Hattiesburg. Somebody has just posted about not hearing from somebody at William Carey. We had such a large population this summer. We had about 700 to 800 applicants for the alternate route program this summer. And I have just sent the email address on the chat box. We have an enrollment specialist who does nothing now but specialize in working with our alternate route candidates, Dr. Cassandra Weiss. And I've just put her email address in the chat box. And the rest of the master's degree, this 12 hours that you do for the 2 initial courses and the alternate route and the internship, is 12 hours of a master's degree. And you don't have to continue, but if you choose to continue, the rest of the master's degree is 100% online. All right, and here are the links to everything that you would need, and hopefully, Dr. Nalls, you're free to send that out to everybody, because those are direct links to Welcome to the School of Education, about the program description, application, financial aid, and then Dr. Weiss, who I mentioned earlier, and the email address. Now, if you have any problem getting through to anybody, I've given you my email address, and there it is again. And I return every email. Most times I clear out the entire email inbox within 30 minutes. So you would hear from me. And so if you have any problems getting anybody, you just email me.
All right. And then I did provide a copy of this slide with active links in the OneDrive link that was provided at the very beginning of the presentation.
Good.
Again, I plan on going back and creating a link page to all of the links that were provided in the presentation, and providing it access to it to our employees. So anybody who's interested or has any questions, they'll be able to have access to the links to get their answers. Okay. Are there any questions? And we go back through the chat at this time. As it was mentioned, so the partnership between William Carey University and Jackson Public Schools, for those people who are interested in applying for the program, they will need to apply and be approved for enrollment before the deadline in December. The district is, for those who enroll, particularly, and preference will be given to our hard to fill areas in special education, mathematics, and elementary. But those who are admitted into the program, the district will be paying for the certification requirements only, which is the pre-teaching coursework, the first 6 hours, as well as the remaining 6 hours for internship. Any courses that go beyond the 12 hours, if you want to complete the master's degree program in William Carey, will be the responsibility of the candidate. And again, these programs are pending board approval at the board meeting on October the 6th, which is next Tuesday. So we're pretty confident that they will be approved, which is why we're going ahead and sharing the information with you all today. Okay. We're going to go through the chat now and see if I can find a couple of questions that may haven't been answered in the chat already.
Hey, Dr. Nalls, I can assist with that and kind of feed you some questions that you may be able to answer.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, so Ms. Powell is asking about the collaboration at William Carey, and are teachers required to remain in the district after they've received their certification? So what is the district looking for in exchange for the funding for the program and support around certification? Right.
So if the candidate takes advantage of this particular program or partnership between the district and William Carey, then the district is expecting that the educator remain with the district at minimum of 3 years following the certification. And so as we get into the details of it and we start getting people accepted to the program. All of those requirements will be talked about in detail. We want to make sure that there's clarity and understanding as it relates to what's going to be required of the educator as they complete the program. But we're not asking for any, money in return or payback. Many of you are JPS lifers, you're products of JPS, and you want to be able to teach within the district. So being able to commit 3 years of your time and receive compensation for it is not, we don't feel that's a difficult ask. So, but of course, there will be some requirements tied to being able to get that done for you.
Yeah, and so we have some questions about the William Carey program and whether or not, if as you mentioned, we do have the partnership with the University of Mississippi for math educators, that MAT program, which will be able to enroll a small number, but a focused number. Would that also apply to a math educator who's looking to complete the program at William Carey?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. Like I mentioned earlier, I mean, we're opening up to all the JPS employees who need it, but preference will be given particularly to our teachers in our hard to staff areas. And for years since I've been in this position, those areas have been focused around special education, mathematics, as well as elementary education. So as we review the people who apply, because I'm assuming since funds are limited, there's going to be a certain number of slots. Dr. Cormack, you're the money guy. So could you, do we have an estimate of about how many slots we're expecting to be able to provide support for educators?
Yeah, so with this focus program, so I was looking at the data this morning, we've got about 10 remaining math vacancies in the district as we speak. And so given that focus priority, we'll be able to support between 23 and 25 through the full MAT program over the next 2 years. But that's going to be a focus priority for those with a strong background and who, have the sufficient coursework to meet entry requirements. And the benefit of that MAT program is that as they finish, you then have a master's degree. So in addition to, a contract with the district for at least the next 3 years, you also then get a salary bump because you're able to qualify for the AA license. So we are hoping to encourage great math educators in the district and to offer that additional incentive because it's such a specialized and focused area in the district.
Absolutely.
We do have a question that I thought was quite interesting. So we have someone that says, I scored a 21 on the ACT, but that was 30 years ago. Do those scores expire, or can I use that to avoid taking the praxis core?
Okay. Well, to answer the question as it's written, the answer is no, the scores do not expire. And that's written in the actual Mississippi licensure guidelines. However, during the due to the current circumstance with COVID-19 and the licensure provisions that have been provided, the ACT requirement and the praxis core requirement have all been waived. So in order for you to enter into an MAT program, the score wouldn't be needed at this time anyway. But to answer your question, as long as you have a 21 or higher on the ACT, doesn't matter when you took it, then you're good to go.
Yep. Miss McClinty, Kizzy McClinty has said in the chat, she's kind of singing a little bit of the praises. When is the next internship for a SPED program at William Carey? Thanks to the district, I've taken the 2 courses and the SPED exam. So we did provide some support around praxis support. We're looking to expand that as well because we know that folks' budgets are tight. And so we want to provide you some praxis support as well. That's on a kind of a first come, first served basis and priority to folks who, have taken some praxis support. But she is interested to know, Dr. Burnett, about the next internship piece.
Right, and
he
actually
has answered in the chat. There it is.
But it will be next fall for the people that are currently enrolled in the program. And Dr. Burnett, if you want to come back on the mic and provide any details.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I did want to put that in there. We normally only do that in the fall, and the winter is 2 terms back to back. So it'll start next August, and you have 3 years to complete your internship. But I want to tell you, number one, don't panic that if you did not start this fall, you can start next fall. But number two, don't let it get by you, because that 3-year license is a non-renewable license. So within that 3 years, you need to do your internship. And again, it's just 2 terms, a fall and a winter term. So you can start again next fall with no problem.
Ms. Johnson's asked a question, Ms. Tracy Johnson. I was attending William Carey starting my internship, but I had to drop due to not having a 3-year license approved just yet. Passed the Praxis 2 and SPED. Will I know in a timely manner when the 3-year license will get approved so she can re-enroll?
Yes, and I want to encourage Tracy to email Dr. Weiss or me in the coming days, and that way we can have her student ID number, and we can look that up and make sure that that's on our radar and give her some good information.
Awesome. Arnisha is talking about getting her letter ready now that she's enrolled at Belhaven in the MAT program. And if you've got your unconditional letter handy, you can start to scan those documents. We want to have those ready and in queue so that you can be offered a contract, as Dr. Nalls mentioned. When those contracts go out in the bundle to your school, we want you to be in the number. Don't be left out of the first count. So take care of those things, meet the December deadline so that we can get you processed and get you on track. Doc, they're going to be, I've continued to scan the chat. I've been trying to answer questions, and I know Ms. Tice as well has been answering questions diligently as we've gone along. But we'll continue to scrub the chat to make certain that there aren't any unanswered questions left on the table, and that we can follow up with you accordingly.
Yeah, and then again, my goal is to save a copy of this chat and then kind of go through and pull them out again, and then provide that FAQ for them. I did want to speak to, there was one question regarding CTE renewal. So those teachers that are on a career and technical educators license, for all licensure types through the Mississippi Department of Education, even if you were working on getting that converted from a 3-year to a 5-year, the COVID-19 extension is available to you for endorsements that you already have on your license that have that are due to expire June 30th, 2020. So if we need to meet one-on-one so we can take a look at your situation specifically, I should be able to advise you on what steps you need to take in order to get the extension if it's needed, and go from there. You should receive your Ms. Ratliff asks, when do we receive the unconditional letter from our school? You should receive it once you apply. But if you have not received one, you just need to get in contact with the School of Education at the school where you're enrolled, and have the dean or the certification officer provide you with a copy of your letter of acceptance. And remember, in order for MDE to accept it, it has to come either from the dean of education's desk or the desk of the certification officer in order for them to accept it for licensure renewal.
And Dr. Nalls, for those who are interested in the William Carey Partnership Program to do their coursework, what can they expect in terms of a timeline for submitting documents to William Carey?
Dr. Burnett did mention that the deadline to start for the February courses will be sometime in December. Dr. Burnett, could you speak to that for us quickly?
Yes, sir, Dr. Nalls. Our deadline would not be then. I thought that JPS had set a deadline to have everything in by December. I think that's a good plan, because if you wait till the very end and things get in such a funnel at the very end, trying to get to help everybody and get you registered. Also, we will need to know what number we're looking at, because we may have to make more than one class of more than one section of the classes. So the sooner we can know, the better. And you can start communicating with Dr. Weiss tonight, tomorrow, on getting information in and getting GPAs checked for admission. So I would just recommend starting as quick as you can. And that link that Dr. Nalls provided for you on that shared document, I linked it directly to the page where you will start. So you don't have to go through all of the other pages. It will take you a direct link to the application.
Correct. Yeah, and so I'm going to set a soft deadline right now, Dr. Cormack, of December 1 to have everything, the application completed and everything in. The December 18th deadline for the letters, that will provide you time to apply for the program by December 1, get everything in, and hopefully get enrolled and receive your letter of acceptance by December 18th. So right now we're going to shoot for December 1. Once we get more information about the application process and acceptance, then I'll be providing that to you all as we go along. But once
Should I wait till December 1st, Dr. Nalls?
No,
Should I wait till
absolutely
December
not.
1st?
No, do not wait till December 1st. If you can apply tonight,
There you
get
go.
the link and apply as soon as possible. Because remember, spots are limited. They're going to fill up fast. So we want as many people as we can to go ahead and apply. And then as we screen the applications, we'll let you know what's what as it relates to you being admitted into the program. But I don't want you to also think that if you don't get into this program that the sky's falling and that's the end all be all for your certification journey. There are options for you. This is just a way for Jackson Public Schools to be able to support our employees in a way to make sure that our teachers take advantage of these provisions and the opportunities that we have sit before us during this unprecedented time. And again, somebody's asking for the links, and I'm going to go back really quickly to show you. Right now, if you scan this top link with your phone, with the camera app on your phone, just hold up the camera like you're going to take a picture. Don't take the picture, but just hold it up. A link will pop up on your phone screen where you can access the OneDrive folder that contains a copy of this presentation as well as the document that has the links for William Carey University on it. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go back and create a separate sheet that has just the links typed out so that you'll be able to access the document and access the folder. And if you send me an email requesting the link to the document or to the folder, I can share that with you before the meeting is over. So, all right. So any other questions we will address in the FAQ at this point. And it's okay if it doesn't work with your phone, we're going to get you the links. We're going to make sure you have the information, I promise you. But these, make sure that you follow Jackson Public School District on all of our social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also review our JPS ITV YouTube channel for important updates and news. If you feel free to please tweet about the meeting and the information you received. And if you do, make sure you use the hashtag #WeAreJPS. All right. And so this is our Office of Teacher Recruitment information. Again, I'm Dr. Nalls. I'm the Director of Recruitment, and my email address is listed there. If you're not able to get me, we also have our recruitment specialist, Ms. Lakeisha Tice, who is well adept at being able to assist you in all of your certification and licensure needs. As you see there to the left, I mentioned that we were doing one-on-one appointments that you can go ahead and schedule. If it's working with your phone, you can go ahead and scan that link with your phone to get access to the calendar to start registering for your one-on-one appointments. These appointments are going to start October the 7th, and you'll be able to schedule appointments all the way up through December the 11th, which is the week prior to us getting out for winter break, the winter holiday break. Okay, but if not, the link to the appointment calendar will also be provided with the link to the folder. So for if those who are interested in getting it like sooner than later, after we conclude the meeting, if you would just kind of hold on, I'll put the links in the chat for you so that you can get them and go from there. And so we want to thank everyone for attending. We especially want to thank Dr. Ben Burnett for taking time out of his afternoon to come in and share that information with us. And you'll be seeing and hearing from him and his staff a lot of William Carey, as well as our team here in the district. Thank you, Dr. Cormack, for always being a great support and providing the time and the platform for us to have this meeting. And again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to contact our office. We want to thank you all for attending and have a good evening.